Hey friends, this is TJ coming to you again from Beit Bracha on a warm and beautiful day in the beginning of May. I'm standing right at the bottom of our property. We have a big Bedouin tent here. You're all invited to come enjoy it with us. I'll just give you a little view of where I am right now. Just look around with me. You can see the Sea of Galilee there off in the distance, the guest house up there. And yeah, that's where we're at. So I was thinking of what to share with you these days, because as nice as it would be to take you around to all of the beautiful places that we've gotten to go in the last year or two, we often don't have the bandwidth to just go. We've sometimes waited for the excuse when friends of ours are visiting or when there's some other reason to get out and about. But we can still talk a bit about some of these important stories in the Bible, specifically the New Testament, and how they affect our lives. So I thought, to give it some structure, why don't we work through something like the Gospel of Luke together? Every week for the next few weeks, I'll bring you something I've been reading from the Gospel of Luke, and we'll talk about how it applies, what we can learn from it. To start with, there's this amazing and really quite fascinating story of the announcement of the birth of John the Baptist. It's a story we really know well. As we know, Zechariah and Elizabeth were both from priestly families, and they both had connections to Jerusalem and to the tribe of Levi. Zechariah was on duty. Back in Jesus' time, the priestly families had grown so large that they were divided up into what they called mishmarot, divisions. And it says that he was from the division of Aviyah, okay? So he was on duty, and we know the story. He goes into the Holy of Holies, and an angel appears to him. Of course, the angel says, "Do not be afraid." We've gotten used to that, right? Anytime anyone meets an angel, the angel often says, "Do not be afraid." It's all throughout the Old Testament and the New Testament. But this time the angel doesn't just say, "Do not be afraid." He says, "Do not be afraid, for your prayers have been heard." It's not two separate sentences. It's not, "Do not be afraid, your prayers have been heard." It's, "Do not be afraid because your prayers have been heard." Why? I wonder to myself, why does he say that? Well, there's a lot of reasons, and I can't get inside the mind of the angel or the mind of Zechariah, but what it could be is any of us who've asked God for something, or who've prayed earnestly for something, whether it be for a child, or for, like in Zechariah and Elizabeth's case, or for healing from a sickness, or for something that we really, really need from God, and then it doesn't get answered. If we're honest with ourselves, we'll admit that sometimes, if a prayer doesn't get answered for years and years and years, we can doubt, we can fear, we can wonder, is God really there? Does God really hear my prayers? Those kinds of doubts and fears are totally normal, and it could well be that Zechariah and Elizabeth, because they've waited so long for God to answer their prayers, had experienced some doubt and some fear. Imagine a life like that, where day after day, you do what you know is right. You go and you serve in the temple when it's your chance, like Zechariah did. And you still ask God, "Can we have a child? Could we please have a child?" And God doesn't seem to answer. I'm sure that Zechariah and Elizabeth, after all those years of asking and wondering and hoping, will God send us a child? I'm sure they experienced doubt and fear. But they stayed faithful. They kept doing what they knew they were supposed to do. And then it happened that the angel of God came and brought them the good news. Do not be afraid, for your prayers have been heard. There is a God up there who hears our prayers, who listens, who sees our faithfulness, and who pays attention. That, to me, is one of the biggest lessons of that story. Of course, we know what wonderful things happened afterwards. John the Baptist was born, Jesus was born, Jesus' ministry began. We'll talk about that in upcoming weeks, but for now, I thought this was an appropriate lesson from the beginning of Luke's Gospel. Thanks for watching, and I look forward to sharing more with you as time goes on. Have a good one. So right here you see our little vegetable garden. We have potatoes and carrots and dill. We had lettuce, but we picked most of it. We're going to start another garden right over here. Here's the big Bedouin tent. We are working on cleaning it. During the COVID time, the former managers didn't have time to clean this tent, and also not that many people used it. So if any of you come and visit us, we hope to have this thing beautiful and clean with maybe some furniture in there so that you can come and hang out.